And we're up and we're running. Just let me sort this camera out. Good afternoon, guys. How's everyone doing this Friday afternoon? Hope everyone's doing well. Hope you're all in the best of health, best of wealth, and I hope you're being the best version of yourself you could possibly be. Give me a second, guys. I want to adjust this selfie stick. Welcome to my channel, guys. Joey Barnett TV, where you will get nothing but honesty, nothing but genuine content, nothing but the truth, and it'll always be like that for me, guys. So yeah, I hope everyone's doing well. As I just said, I'm in a good space, I'm in a happy space, and yeah, I hope everyone else is in a good space. I hope you're all doing well. 2025, I hope it's going to be a really good year for you. I've got a very, very bright future ahead of me for this year. I'm a summer type of a person, for one. I'm a Cancer, born in July. I believe in my star signs. Roll on the summer, roll on the summer. Because what I'm going to be talking to you about on this video is bikes, motocross bikes, motorbikes, where I first fell in love, when I first fell in love with the sport of motocross, when I first fell in love with motorbikes. And that's what I'm saying to you guys. I'm a summer type of a person, so during the summer I'm out every weekend visiting different motocross tracks up and down the UK, if not every weekend, because sometimes I'm a little bit busy. I do like to get out as much as I possibly can, but if it ain't every weekend, it certainly is every other weekend. But yeah, so this is when first of all I'm going to have a little chat with you about my childhood. Now, when I first fell in love with motorbikes, so a lot of people who are into bikes will probably be able to relate to this video. Just let me sort this selfie stick out, it keeps moving, sorry guys. It's got a light on it. No, let me check this light out. Oh yeah, that's better. Little light on it. How'd you go? How's that? How's your father? So yeah, guys, I was probably around the age of, I'd say, 11 or 12 when I realised that I was going to love motorbikes for the rest of my life. When I was a kid, I always used to look at bikes ripping down the road, roaring down the road. And the bikes, what was about them days, when I'm talking about probably in the very early 80s, was RDLC 125s, the black ones, and then you had the RDLC power valve 350s. That jumped it up a level, and they was like rockets. They really was, and so was the RDLC. But yeah, I'm jumping forward a little bit, but I'm gonna have a little talk to you about bikes, as I said. So it's going to be all about bikes. DTLC 125, my very first bike. First of all, before I talk to you about my very first bike, I want to tell you about the bikes of the era, and probably the bikes what I had. Not probably, I did have. I had little fizzies, quite a few little fizzies, FS1Es, what they're known as, but I knew them as a fizzy. Had a little racing seat on it, a single seat on it, a little micron pipe on it, a little set of crash bars on it, drop handlebars, and that was my very, very first bike. Now I was probably I don't know, 13 or 14, totally not legal on the road, but them days, you know, that's just how it was. If you had a bike, you rode it on the road. It's not like today where you got CCTV cameras, AMPR and vehicles. You had none of that back in the day. But yeah, that was my very first road bike, I'll say, an FS1E. And my best mate, rest in peace, he's been dead for about 4 or 5 years, was Bobby Sullivan, and he had the love for bikes too. So I used to take my little fizzy round to his house on Morsey Road 2 in southwest London, where he had like a little workshop out the back, and we'd rip the bikes to pieces. We used to walk down the street, and if there was a bike in the front garden that had flat tyres, we'd knock on the door, ask them if they'd sell it, and 9 times out of 10 we'd buy it. It'd normally come up seized, so we'd take it home, you know, take the spark plug out, put a bit of oil down the top of the head, rock it backwards and forwards, and bang, Bob's your uncle, you'd unseize them. So yeah, I love bikes all of my life. I really have. When I was around 13, I had a KX100, which my mum and my stepdad bought me. And as I said, when I was around 13 or 14, they used to drop me off to different bits of waste ground. Them days, you could ride waste ground and you was safe as houses. Basically, my dad used to put my little KX in the back of his escort van, because it was a little small wheel KX, and they dropped me down to Bedderton Lane, Mitcham, also known as the Bog, because it was obviously on a reservoir. And there was jumps over there, there was hills, there was ramps. It was miles and miles of waste ground, and that is when I very first fell in love with motorbikes, at the age of 11 or 12. And as I said, I had fizzies, I had AP50s, and then I had like the AP120s, MZ, do you remember the MZ? It was a 2-stroke, big old tank on it, looked like a spaceship. I had one of them, but I had quite a few little crosses. I also had a little RM. So that's when I first started riding motocross bike. And as I said, my mum and my stepdad used to drop me off to the waste ground in the morning, say 11 o'clock, 10, 11 o'clock. And, you know, they'd come and pick me up. They didn't have phones them days. It was pages, if you remember them days. God, that's giving me age away, innit? But yeah, they dropped me off on the waste ground, and they'd probably pick me up, if it was in the summer, probably 4 or 5 o'clock, and I'd be riding all day long. And I mean literally all day long. And yeah, on the same tank, same tank of fuel too. Because obviously you couldn't ride for that long, but we used to like have rest and breaks and have chats with all our mates. And there was quite a few of us. We used to go out. There was another place by Atkinson's Breakers in Tooting, and that was called Stink Bomb Alley. God, what names of places. But yeah, there's notorious for motorbikes, motocrosses. People from all around southwest London used to go there. My cousin, big shout out, he's also gone now, Lee Collender. Rest in peace, Lee. Love you to bits, mate, when he was around, and I never, ever gotten over losing you, mate. But, well, not mate, he was my cousin. But yeah, I used to go out with him when we was kids. My mum would drop me round, or drop me down to her aunt, as her cousin, Pearlie Collender, and then me and Lee would be going over Stink Bomb Alley, over the tracks. But yeah, that's when I first, and to be honest with you, all of my life, I've never, ever fallen out of love. But, you know, you've got to be financially stable. You've got to have an income coming in. You've got to be settled in life. You've got to have your head on your shoulders. You've got to be on the ball, on the balls of your feet, so they say. Because I talked to you a little bit about motocross tracks, what I'm doing now. But yeah, them days, back in the day, you didn't really have motocross tracks. As I said, it was all waste ground. And we used to create our own little jumps, you know, bits of plywood and, you know, making jumps up. But yeah, I've never ever fell out of love with bikes. My sister's boyfriend at the time, Tony Carmen, that's when I was a few years older. He had an XL 185, a Honda. I think it was about a 1982 and 1983, and you know, I couldn't even touch the floor on it. But he used to let me ride it all around the block, and you know, take it out for like half hour at a time while he was in my house with my sister Angela. So I've never ever fell out of love with bikes. But yeah, there's as I said, my mate, another one of my mates, when he was 17, he got a brand spanking new RDLC, and I was so jealous of him. I wasn't a bully or nothing like that, but I used to say to him, come on, let me have a go. And he used to say no. I say, come on. I used to drive him mad so much that he'd get off his bike and let me ride it, and that was it. You know, as soon as I was on that saddle, I wasn't getting off of it. You know, I stayed on that bike all day long, and I used to rip all around southwest London on my mate's RDLC, and he'd still be standing out the front waiting for me to come back. You know, I'm talking 5-6 hours later. That's how much I've loved bikes, and I've always loved bikes. But yeah, as I said, you've got to be financially and you've got to be settled in life to get into bikes when you're a little bit older. So it was I don't know, about 4 or 5 years ago, leap forward, you know, into my adult life. I'm talking now, you know, when I'm in my 50s. But as I said, I've never ever fell out of love of bikes. All of my life, I've had bikes. I've had R1s. That was like a mountain bike, absolutely rapid, but light as a mountain bike. And I found it, you know, at the time, I thought it was the best thing on two wheels. But now looking back on it, you know, it was a death machine, because it was so light and so powerful. And that's why there was, you know, when they first started creating these R1s, that's why there were so many accidents and so many fatal accidents, because the power, what they generated, them bikes, you know, and they still do today, is on another level, you know. I used to go indoors when I was a kid, you know, if I'd been out on the track all day, or if I hadn't been out, I'd be indoors and I'd hear bikes roaring through the town of a night time. And, you know, just the sound of them, you know, these big four strokes, those roaring up the road, the sound of them, and these two strokes too, the smell of the two stroke, and the sound of the two strokes, you know, and the power band of the two strokes, especially the RD. And also, I haven't spoke to you about that, but I had a DTLC, and that had a power band too. It was absolutely lovely, really good in the power band. But, you know, before you hit that power band, you ain't really got much power. But when you're in that power band, that was it. That's when I was in my element, in the power band. Just dip the clutch a little bit in second gear on them DTs and bang, she's up. I used to power wheel you the whole length of the street. But you lose your bottle as you get a little bit older, don't you? But yeah, what was I saying? That's what I'm saying. I can run away. I can just carry on talking all day about bikes. Sorry about that, guys. My phone just went just now, and it's someone very important, so I'll have to end this video in the next few minutes, 5 minutes or something. But yeah, later on in life, I got KXs. I've always been a Kawasaki man, as you can see by the clothes what I've got on today. I love KXs, and that stemmed back from when I was a kid. As I said, when I was about 14 or 15 in the early 80s, my mum bought me a KX100, the small wheel, and that was it. You know, I used to rip that engine to bits in my mum's front room. I'd have the head off, changing the piston, changing the rings, you know, doing all sorts of work to it. And if it kept me quiet, and if it kept me happy, then my mum didn't give a flying F, if you know what I mean. As long as I was happy, then she was happy. It was one of them ones. And all the time I was indoors, you know, doing bits and pieces on my bike, I was out of trouble. So she could rest then, you know what I mean? But when I was out on my bike, you know, you can imagine every parent, like when their kids have got bikes, you know, there's always that element of doubt in their mind. There's always that little bit of fear that you could come off, you can have an accident. Because that's the truth, you can. And, you know, they are dangerous. If you don't know what you're doing, especially. But yeah, you know, this is why I'm so good on bikes now, because I've ridden them all of my life. And right, so yeah, going back to the R1, I had an R1. I've had an Aprilia Milli 1000. That was really, really powerful. It was heavy though, really heavy. And it used to backfire. Used to do gunshots. You'd rev it up, turn the engine off, it backfired, and you start it up and do it again, and it literally used to give you gunshots. Really powerful machines, and I mean that. I've had a CBR Fireblade. That was later on in life when I was in my 40s. By the way, one thing I never ever did, and I so regret not doing it, is passing my bike test. I've done my car test, obviously, because my mum made me do that, and I'm so glad that she made me do that, because, you know, I'm able now to have my own vehicle without a full driving license. You're pretty much knackered for anything unless you want to get a lift. So yeah, I'm so grateful that she made me go in for my test, paid for my lessons and passed my test. But I didn't pass my test on a bike, so I was never ever road legal on a bike. So obviously later on in life, like now, I can't go on the road with a big bike. 125s I can ride up to on the road, but they're not for me. Too slow, you know. I like the power. I know you can get some motocross bikes and you can put them on the road, you can road register them, but as far as I'm concerned, them motocross bikes, them 125s on the road, they don't last 2 minutes, and you've got to keep changing the heads, the pistons, so you've got to keep doing rebuilds on the top end of them, because they're not for the road, they're built for the dirt. But yeah, you know, I've had what else have I had? KHs. Remember the old Kawasaki? I think it was like a 390 or something like that. It was a triple, 3 exhaust on it, like rocking all nowadays. They're probably worth a few quid, yeah. I had a CB 600, the Sport, and that one I actually bought out of Hamilton's motorbike shop, brand spanking new. Not road legal again. I'm not promoting this at all, but I'm just telling you my journey, how I love bikes, and I've always loved bikes. Gonna jump forward now a little bit and talk to you about the KXs, what I've had. As I said, the KX100, I've had loads of KX125s. I had one right up until 3, maybe 4 years ago. I've had a KX250, which is on my channel. You can see that. That was a lovely bike, rocking all shit again nowadays, hard to get. It was a 2005 and they stopped making them on a 2006. So I should have kept hold of it really, because they're getting very hard to get. All the old bikes are the CRs, the RMs, all them 2-strokes, you know, they're worth their weight in gold. But yeah, I had the KX250. I found that a little bit too snappy on motocross tracks, and to ride it smoothly you had to keep it in the power band, and to keep a KX250 2-stroke in the power band you've got to be some rider. And to be honest with you, you know, even the professionals of today, they couldn't keep it in the power band. That's why they've all got gases and all new YZs and all these new machines, because they weren't what the old 2-strokes were. You know, the old 2-strokes, like that KX what I've just got rid of, it ripped your hands off. You knew you was on a 2-stroke, you knew you was on an old school bike. You know, you felt the rattle go right the way through the balls of your feet right up to your shoulders, and you had to grip hold of them handlebars and hold on for dear life, especially when it hit the power band. And I've had a few bits and pieces like whiskey throttle, when you're stuck in the power band, you know, and your adrenaline's going, and before you know it, there's an object in front of you and you're in your power band, and it's very hard to stop once you're in that power band and you've got that mindset. So I kept the KX250 for a few years, and thought I'll part up with that, because as I said, it ripped your hands off. So I swapped that out for a KX125. And that was one of the last KX125s they did. That was on a 2007. I believe they stopped making the KXs 2-strokes on a 2008. So again, that was like rocking horse fuel. But as I said, you know, you couldn't ride these 2-strokes smooth on motocross tracks. So I wanted to go over to the dark, what they call the dark side, 4-strokes. And the reason why I went over to the darker side, the 4-strokes, is because they're a lot more smoother. Unlike the 2-stroke where you got power in the power band, on a 4-stroke you got power from the off. So you know, for instance, if you're in a deep rut on a motocross track and you're on the 2-stroke, it's very hard to get out of that rut unless you're in your power band. You've obviously got to stand up on your pegs of your feet, the balls of your feet on the pegs. But with a 4-stroke, what I found is you've got instant power. So if you're in a rut, you just, you know, power through it. Don't, you know, a golden rule when you ride a motocross bike, don't ever look down at your front wheel. When you're on a motocross bike, you must look ahead of you. You know, when you're riding, you can obviously see what's in front of you. So if you see any ruts, you know, you've got to think about it, use your imagination, pick your line, what line you're going to go into, and just hit it in power, you know, and 9 times out of 10 it'll pull you out of it. So yeah, I swapped my KX250 and I bought a CR 450R. Now that is a beast, and I mean a real beast. As I said, I've had bikes all of my life. I've had KTMs, Dukes, you know. This CRF, what I've got now, it is an animal. I mean an absolute animal, but it is more manageable. For some reason, you know, it's more manageable than a 250 or a 125. It's a lot more manageable. It's a little bit heavier, but it plants to the ground better. It sits to the ground. You've got more traction on it, you know. There's no way in this world, you know, you can get out of second gear on my CRF 450 on any motocross tracks. You've got to have stubble fields, you've got to have long straights to get out of second gear, you know. And the gears on my CRF 450 are so long, like you can do the whole length of a field in first and second gear quite easily, you know. Probably get up to about 40 or 50 mile an hour, you know, in second gear, if not a little bit more, maybe 70, you know, could even be 80, I don't know, because that hasn't got a speedometer and I've never really, you know, tested it. But yeah, roll on the summer, you know, I can't wait to get out. Since I've got my CRF 450, I bought it off of someone what was a lot younger. He's only in his 20s. He got given it by his uncle, and the reason why he sold it to me is because he was petrified of it. He was scared of it, and I mean trashed of the bike, you know. He didn't ride on motocross tracks or nothing like that. He was just taking it over waste ground, taking it over fields, and things like that. So it, you know, he couldn't really have the full benefit of the bike, because, you know, these CRF 450s demand, and I mean, they demand respect. If you don't give them respect, you know, they'll put you straight through a brick wall, and the rest is history. But yeah, when I first got it, it needed quite a lot of work done to it. Chains, sprockets, radiators, front brakes, back brakes, gear levers, clutch lever, front lever, plastics, tank. It needed quite a lot of work to it, so I got it cheap. It's a 2013. I paid £2,000 for it, and I've spent, I don't know, probably £1,500 on it. But as far as I'm concerned, yeah, and this is the truth, I'd rather have £3 or £4 in something what I love, like a bike, rather than having it in the bank, getting the bank manager rich. You know, I'd rather have that, because as far as I'm concerned, it's a hobby, and it's a hobby for life. So, you know, if I'm bored, I'll just get my bike, chuck it on the back of my truck, and bang, I can go to a track. It gives you that. It keeps you motivated. It keeps you inspired. It gives you something to look forward to. It takes your mind off of dark things. You know, there's nothing but happiness. There's nothing but joy. Anyway, guys, I'm going to get this one uploaded because I'm 22 minutes in. I'll be back at you in a little bit. But have a good weekend, everyone, man. Peace.